used to be so jealous of my friends who had older brothers, but the more I learn about brothers, the more I'm glad I never had one. Like the stuff y'all share. So I want to get into something that shows so well how much family dynamics, embody the patriarchy. And this one involves like a brother. But before I get into that, by the way, this is my dog right now. But y'all know that I talk a lot about on here about cool girls, pick me's, toxic boy moms, and how it is not just men that are doing this, that are creating this like hellscape that we're in. It's women who uphold patriarchy. And as a, recovering cool girl myself, I do have empathy for women who do this because I understand why they do it, but that doesn't excuse the behavior. They're still responsible for what they do in terms of screwing over so many women and other men, even because of their allegiance to patriarchy and the power structures and all that stuff tied into it. And a lot of it is because of enmeshment, because of codependency. A lot of times there's even abuse tied into that, especially like sexual abuse. And something else that I've realized is that when you're dating someone, you need to pay really close attention to their family, how their parents talk to them, how their parents deal with them, right? If they have siblings, like I paid very close attention to my husband and his family dynamic and his relationship with his sister and everything when we first started dating. And I was like, wow, there's so much love here. I was like, what is this? They seem to all like really love being around each other. It made no sense to me. And I know a lot of y'all can relate to this of being like, wow, he's very well aware of like he hit the jackpot. And so it's all the more important that he deconstruct patriarchy and all of this stuff and, do all the things, right? So let's look at this. But before we do, can we just look at this? Look at that sweet baby. Oh my God, I'm talking about you. Oh. Anyway, I want to talk about this. I love this Dear Caroline section because it shows like real life examples of the stuff that I'm talking to y'all about. So this is the title if you want to look it up. It's in the Washington Post. Her husband's family, right? And she overheard her now sister-in-law, right? Call him a jackass. And now listen to her. This is why, man, this woman is like screwed, y'all. Because remember how I told y'all a lot of these men are just bullies, right? And then as soon like they're bullies at school, they're like, Biff is always needs a George McFly, and they're bullies in their families, and their number one target is either their younger brothers, if they have any, or their sisters. So all the little pranks and all the little jokes, right? Because it's all about power, and they just need to dominate somebody. So this woman like marries into this family, and she's already taking her husband's side. I mean, of course she is, right? Instead of seeing this as like, it's like, you're next. Did you not realize this? What he does to his sister, he's going to do to you. Anyway, she's like, my husband likes Anne, but he also likes to tease and joke around about some of Anne's quirks. She is nice and a good hostess, but she's also kind of pretentious. Now, I mean, that's a fair criticism if she's pretentious. I get it. Like, she'll use cloth napkins. Blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to read all the details. She calls the pouring custard creme anglaise. So my husband teases her, saying she spilled flowers in the food or calling her Martha Stewart, mild stuff like that. All very good natured. Y'all, men's jokes are never good natured. Okay, maybe not never, but most of the time, when especially against women, they are punching down. Unless Anne fires back and this is what they do to each other, then I'm already like, red flag. And she's like, I know he'd be surprised and hurt if he knew what she thought of him. No, probably not. Now, this is where I'm like, oh God, I think this could blow over if I've explained to her that it's all in good fun and that he really does like her, but I'm not sure how to bring it up. Okay, dude, if you are in big trouble, if you marry into a family and then the first thing you do is gaslight your new sister-in-law and be like, I think you should just calm down. He really loves you. He's just kidding. As if this new person into this family dynamic that's probably been going on for decades has the right to make any commentary like, oh my God, y'all, don't ever do this unless you want your in-laws to hate you. And the fact that she thinks that, this reminds me of the one I did the other day of like the woman who was defending her dad who slapped her niece. It's like, y'all, like, and wanted the niece to apologize to the dad that slapped her. Like, this is why women, we have got to heal our trauma. We have to unpack patriarchy and all these systems of oppression. Because once you understand that you stepping in and covering for a man and excusing a man's behavior, and especially a man's behavior towards a woman, and telling her to calm down, like, you might as well be like, I think you're crazy and sensitive. Aren't we tired of men telling us that? Do you know what I mean? Like, this is so bad. So I'm not gonna read the whole response. It's pretty good. She's like, well, you may be okay with it, but like, have you ever been in this situation like this where you're made fun of by someone that you love? It is never as pleasant or harmless as the person creating it thinks, especially over time, because y'all know this is not the first time. She's just stepping into this family, right? That men who are insecure and, not dealing with their stuff, their favorite thing to do is punch down. And she's even like, well, maybe you're right. Maybe it's not a big deal, but you don't even know the other reasons that her remarks annoy her. And this is what I love, because she's like, don't be so condescending, lady. She's like, look, her brother fully understands that he likes her and means well, for example. She may know that and still finds his shtick unfunny, annoying, or stale. So I'm not gonna go in the rest of it. Y'all can look it up. So your intervention, why don't you do the intervention on the other person? And by that, she means the brother. Instead of calling out the sister for not getting his good-natured joke, perhaps you should tell your husband, maybe you should maybe not do that so much. I don't know. Like, we know that this conversation is probably not going to go over well. Because I love using this as a microphone. Families are a microcosm of the grander power structure. A lot of times when a woman does not like her brother, it's because he's been her number one bully. I love that women are not going to enable their brothers the way their mothers enabled those sons. But of course, her first thought is not to perhaps have a talk with the man who is punching down and making these jokes. Her first thought is, of course, to tell the woman, can't you just take a joke? How many times have we heard that from men who've said at work, in the public, or even our boyfriend or whoever, who have said and done ridiculous things, whether it's just mean things that are jokes or outright pranks that are so cruel, and then they gaslight us and make us feel crazy and question if we have a right to be mad, because it's just jokes. It's just jokes, y'all. I talk about this a lot, especially as a comedian. I literally studied comedy for years. I trained under some of the best comedians out there. I understand humor. I have a great sense of humor. And a lot of what men do and say, it ain't funny, because it's not about humor. It is about being mean, being a bully, and reinforcing patriarchy behind jokes. It's never just jokes. Not with men, not when they're punching down. It is never just jokes. And I wouldn't be surprised if that woman had wedding cake smashed in her face. That's the kind of men who do that to their sister.